for me is potentially the most important. So if you do nothing other than this one, I know it will help you create more referrals. And this is the Greenstone's Most Wanted. Now, it's nothing more complicated than a collection of 10, in this case, logos. Don't want any more than 12 on the sheet. But basically, you pick 10 or 12 businesses that you want to work with or would like to work with. So they are your ideal client. You get a designer to design something up. So this one is based on James Bond. In the past, we have done Most Wanted, as in like a cowboy Wild West thing. We've done, now that's what I like to call music, the old CD compilation albums, anything and everything, basically, in order to make it attractive. You stick the logos onto the sheet. It's basically an A4 sheet and it's laminated. And the team members carry them around and we have them in the office. And then what you do is during the course of the conversation, you deal with the accounts. During the course of the conversation, you say, can I ask your advice? And everybody likes being asked advice, so the customer will always say yes. And then you hand them the sheet, and as you hand them the sheet, they will take the sheet away from you, so it's got them in, so they've got it in your hand. And you say, the business is on that sheet. So you're being really specific now. You're going down to Disney film in the last 2 or 3 years. You're narrowing it down to those 10 customers or 12 customers out of all of the customers on the sheet. Could you help me? Do you know anything about them? We would like to work with them. Could you introduce us? You can ask questions around that. Now, what tends to happen is one of 3 things. Very, very, very occasionally, the person that you're asking will say, yes, I know that person. They are my godfather, my godmother. Their son goes to school with my daughter or whatever it is, and I can introduce you. That happened with me. We've been using this for, well, donkey's years, and it's happened on a handful of occasions. Again, the flip side of that is very, very occasionally you'll get somebody go, no, don't know any of those, and they'll give you it back. Yeah, so the 2 extremes. The vast majority of people will look at it and they'll give you some generic information. So they will say things like, yes, I know Joe at ABC Limited. They are a good business or they're a bad business, or they've upset a lot of people, or they play golf at whatever golf club it is, or they go to BNI. They'll give you some generic information. The majority of time, not really very useful, to be honest, but they'll give you something in order to return the advice, to give you advice, which is the question that you've asked. Now, the magic happens when they leave that meeting. So what happens is a week, 2 weeks, 6 months down the line, you'll get a telephone call from that person and they'll say, is ABC Limited on your list? You know that list that you gave me, Simon? Is ABC Limited on that list? And I will say, no, but tell me why you're asking. And then they'll say, well, it's funny you should say that, because at the golf club, they was moaning about their accountant not telling them how much tax they'd got to pay, or they could never get hold of them. They never reply to emails. They're not helping me with furlough, and a whole host of stuff potentially that they've talked about. Now, what it's done is very subtly and very easy shown your customer or the person that you're talking to. You can use it with bank managers or solicitors or anybody. It's shown them that you're looking for business without you directly asking for that. And ultimately, they will go away. It will have registered in their mind. And at some point in the future, they will ring you, because the majority of people will want to help you. So next problem that lots of accountants have is they look at that and they go, okay, I really need to work on this list and work out these 10 businesses or 12 businesses that I'm going to have on the list. It's not about that. You don't need to do that. That's just an excuse to not generate your most wanted. All you need to do is just pick 10, 12 names. The way we did it the first time we did it, we worked out an ideal customer that we'd got, that they was based on an industrial estate. So Mark drove down to the industrial estate. He looked around and said, right, okay, wrote down the names of the people, got the logos, and then used that on the most wanted. It was nothing more complicated than that. It's not about the people on the sheet. It's about the conversation and opening up the conversation to help people make those referrals, those recommendations to you. So out of all of the things that I've discussed in the last 50 minutes, if you do one thing, do the simple, really quick ones, definitely. But if you're going to do one thing of substance and create a system that you want to work with, then do definitely do this one. Another question that very often comes up live when I'm talking to accountants about this is, have I ever had one of the customers named on there ring me up and complain? The simple answer to that is yes. In all the years we've had one. They ended up staying on the sheet, funnily enough, because they rang up and wanted to know why their name was on there and what it was all about. And we said, well, we're being proactive. We want to work with you. It's the way we work. I'm not going to ring you up. We don't email people unless we're invited to. We're not going to ring you up and do direct sales and all that sort of stuff. It's non-interruptive marketing, but we think that we might be able to help support you. We had a very nice conversation, and in the end, he decided to stay where he was. No problem with that whatsoever. So people do occasionally, and that is that one scenario. Again, do we get other accountants ring us up and say, why are you focusing on our customers? No, never had that. Do they focus on our customers? Yes, they do. So we all work within a community. There's more than enough business out there for everybody, but don't let that potential of a customer or somebody on there ringing you up scare you away, because it just does not happen.